Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk about a feeling that many people experience but rarely talk about openly. The feeling of emptiness. It is not always sadness. It is not always depression. Sometimes life looks normal from the outside. You wake up. You go to work. You meet people. You complete your responsibilities. Days continue moving forward. But somewhere inside, something feels strangely quiet. Something feels missing. It can be difficult to describe because nothing seems obviously wrong. Life may even look successful from the outside. You may have a job. You may have friends. You may have achieved goals you once worked very hard for. Yet in certain quiet moments, a strange feeling appears, a feeling of emptiness. Sometimes this feeling arrives at night, when the noise of the day slowly fades away. You sit quietly. The phone is silent. The room becomes calm, and suddenly a quiet thought appears. Why do I still feel empty? This question can feel confusing, because emptiness does not always follow failure. In fact, many people experience it even after success. Someone works hard for years to reach a goal, a promotion, financial stability, recognition. When the goal finally arrives, there is happiness for a moment. But after some time passes, the excitement fades. Life returns to its normal rhythm, and the quiet feeling returns again. Another person may experience emptiness in a different way. They scroll through social media. They see people traveling, building businesses, achieving impressive milestones. Everyone appears to be living an exciting life. Yet when they look at their own day, it feels ordinary, simple, repetitive. Comparison slowly creates a subtle sense of dissatisfaction. Even when life is stable, it begins to feel incomplete. Another strange part of emptiness is that it does not always come with strong emotion. Sometimes it appears as the absence of emotion. Things that once felt exciting begin to feel neutral. Activities that once brought joy feel less powerful. You may watch something entertaining. You may talk with friends, but the feeling disappears quickly. The excitement does not last, and the quiet emptiness returns again. Many people wonder if something is wrong with them. They ask themselves difficult questions. Why don't I feel happy? Why does everything feel meaningless? Why does life feel incomplete? But the truth is that this feeling is more common than many people realize. Modern life creates many conditions where emptiness can quietly grow. Life today moves very quickly. Information never stops flowing. Messages arrive constantly. Entertainment is always available. People fill their time with endless stimulation. Short videos, quick updates, endless scrolling. For a while, these distractions keep the mind occupied. But when the stimulation disappears, the deeper feeling remains. Another reason emptiness appears is that many people spend years chasing external goals. Society teaches certain definitions of success: a stable career, financial progress, achievement that can be measured. People follow these paths with dedication. They study. They work hard. They try to build a good life. But sometimes, after reaching those goals, something unexpected happens. The goal does not provide the feeling they imagined. Success solves practical problems, but it does not always answer deeper emotional questions. Questions about meaning, questions about purpose, questions about why we do the things we do. Another quiet reason emptiness appears is disconnection. Human beings naturally need connection. Not only social interaction, but deeper connection. connection with other people, connection with purpose, connection with something that feels meaningful. But modern life often separates people from these deeper connections. Work becomes busy, schedules become full, communication becomes shorter and faster. People speak more often, but sometimes connect less deeply, and slowly something important becomes missing. Another reason people feel empty is the absence of direction. When life feels connected to a meaningful direction, even difficult days can feel worthwhile. Challenges feel like part of a journey. Effort feels meaningful. But when direction becomes unclear, daily actions can begin to feel mechanical. Work continues. Life continues. But the deeper meaning becomes difficult to see. Yet the feeling of emptiness is not always a problem to fear. Sometimes it is simply a signal that the mind is searching for something deeper, something meaningful, something real. And once we begin to understand that signal, the story becomes much more interesting. To understand why people sometimes feel empty inside, we need to look deeper at how modern life shapes our emotional experience. Many people today live in environments filled with constant stimulation. Entertainment never stops. Information never stops. There's always something new to watch, read, or react to. Phones vibrate. Notifications appear. Messages arrive. The mind rarely has a moment of true silence. At first, this constant stimulation feels exciting. The brain enjoys novelty. It enjoys quick rewards. A funny video, an interesting post, a message from a friend. Each small interaction creates a tiny moment of pleasure. But when the brain becomes used to constant stimulation, something slowly changes. The brain begins expecting higher levels of excitement. Ordinary moments begin to feel less interesting. Simple experiences that once felt meaningful may start to feel dull. Reading quietly, walking outside, thinking deeply about life. These slower experiences require patience and attention. But when the brain becomes accustomed to fast rewards, slower moments may feel empty. Another important factor behind emptiness is comparison. Modern technology allows people to observe the lives of others constantly. Photos of success, stories of achievement, moments of celebration. From the outside, it can appear as if everyone else is living an exciting and meaningful life. Someone is starting a business. Someone is traveling across the world. Someone is achieving impressive milestones at a young age. The mind begins comparing these moments with everyday life. But this comparison is often unfair, because people rarely show the difficult or ordinary parts of their lives online. They show the highlights, the successful moments, the happiest images. Yet every life also contains quiet struggles and uncertain days. Another reason people feel empty is the distance between external success and internal meaning. Many people grow up believing that happiness will arrive after certain achievements. A good job, financial stability, recognition from others. These goals are not meaningless. They can provide comfort and security, but they do not always answer deeper emotional needs. Sometimes a person reaches the goal they once dreamed about, and after the excitement fades, they notice something unexpected. The same quiet emptiness returns. Because achievement alone does not always create meaning. Meaning often comes from something deeper. Another powerful source of emptiness is disconnection. Human beings naturally need connection with others. Not only conversation, but genuine emotional connection. Feeling understood, feeling supported, feeling that someone truly sees who we are. Yet modern life can make deep connection difficult. Many conversations become short and functional. People speak about schedules, work, daily tasks, but deeper emotional conversations become rare. Someone may interact with many people every day, yet still feel strangely alone. Another subtle cause of emptiness is the absence of creativity. Human beings naturally enjoy creating things, writing, drawing, building something new, solving interesting problems. Creating allows people to express their thoughts and emotions. But many modern routines focus mainly on consumption rather than creation. People watch more than they create. They scroll more than they build. They react more than they express. When creativity disappears from daily life, the mind may slowly feel less alive. Another reason people feel empty is the lack of challenge. The human mind grows through challenge, learning something new, trying something difficult, improving a skill over time. These experiences create engagement. But when life becomes too predictable, challenge slowly disappears. Days become routine. Tasks become repetitive. Without challenge, growth becomes slower. Without growth, motivation fades. And without motivation, life can begin to feel strangely hollow. Another important factor behind emptiness is the absence of personal meaning. Many daily activities are necessary for survival. Working, completing responsibilities, managing practical tasks. These activities keep life functioning, but they do not always create a deep sense of purpose. Purpose comes from something more personal, something that feels connected to our values, our interests, our desire to contribute something meaningful to the world. When people spend too much time only fulfilling obligations, life can begin to feel mechanical. The days pass quickly, but the deeper sense of meaning becomes harder to see. Another quiet influence is emotional exhaustion. Modern life often requires constant mental attention, decisions, responsibilities, information. The mind rarely rests. Over time, this mental fatigue can make emotional experiences feel dull. Not because life has lost meaning, but because the mind has become overwhelmed. When energy becomes low, emotional connection becomes weaker. Joy becomes harder to feel. Motivation becomes difficult to maintain. Understanding these patterns reveals something important. The feeling of emptiness is not random. It often grows from several quiet influences working together. Stimulation without meaning, connection without depth, achievement without purpose, activity without direction. And when these patterns continue for a long time, the mind begins sending a signal that something deeper is missing. But that signal is not necessarily negative. Sometimes it is the beginning of an important realization, a realization that life may be asking for something more meaningful than simple distraction or routine. And once we begin to recognize this signal, we can start exploring what might truly bring life back into focus. At this point, an important question appears. If emptiness grows from these patterns, how can people begin to move beyond it? Many people try to escape the feeling as quickly as possible. They search for more entertainment, more distractions, more stimulation. For a short time, these things may help. The mind becomes occupied again. The feeling disappears for a moment. But after the distraction fades, the emptiness often returns, because the feeling itself was never truly understood. Instead of escaping the feeling immediately, it may be helpful to listen to it. Emptiness is not always an enemy. Sometimes it is a message, a quiet signal from the mind asking deeper questions. Questions about meaning, questions about direction, questions about the kind of life we truly want to live. When people begin listening to these questions, something interesting happens. The feeling of emptiness slowly begins to transform. It becomes curiosity. Instead of asking, "Why do I feel empty?" the mind begins asking a different question. What might be missing from my life? This question opens new possibilities. Often the answer is not dramatic. Sometimes the solution begins with very small changes. Reconnecting with simple experiences, spending time with people who truly understand us, creating something instead of only consuming, learning something new that challenges the mind. These small actions can slowly bring life back into focus. Another important step is reconnecting with attention. Modern life trains the mind to move quickly, to jump from one stimulus to another, but deeper experiences require slower attention. When we slow down, the world begins to look different. A quiet conversation becomes meaningful. A walk outside becomes peaceful. A moment of reflection becomes valuable. These experiences may appear simple, but they reconnect us with the present moment. And the present moment is where meaning begins to grow. Another powerful response to emptiness is creativity. Creating something allows people to express their inner world. Writing thoughts on paper, drawing images, building something with their hands, even solving a problem creatively. Creation brings a different kind of satisfaction than passive entertainment. It transforms ideas into something real. And through this process, people often rediscover their sense of purpose. Another important element is connection. Humans are not meant to experience life completely alone. Deep conversations, shared experiences, moments of honesty between people. These interactions remind us that we are part of something larger than ourselves. Sometimes simply feeling understood can reduce the sense of emptiness. Another helpful shift is reconnecting with curiosity. Children naturally explore the world with curiosity. They ask questions constantly. They experiment with new ideas. They observe small details with excitement. But as people grow older, routines and responsibilities often reduce curiosity. Life becomes practical, predictable. But curiosity never completely disappears. It only becomes quieter. When curiosity returns, life begins to feel more interesting again. New ideas appear. New possibilities appear. The world begins to feel larger. Another important change happens when people stop expecting constant happiness. Life naturally contains many emotional states: joy, calm, confusion, uncertainty, reflection. Emptiness itself can sometimes be part of the process of personal growth. It creates space for reflection. It creates space for new meaning to appear. Instead of seeing emptiness as a permanent state, it may be helpful to see it as a transition, a moment where old patterns are losing their meaning, but new meaning has not yet fully appeared. During these moments, patience becomes important. Meaning rarely appears instantly. It grows slowly through experience, through exploration, through small discoveries repeated over time. Many people later look back on periods of emptiness and realize something surprising. Those quiet moments help them ask deeper questions, questions that eventually led them toward a more meaningful life. So if you ever experience this feeling of emptiness, remember that it is not unusual. Many thoughtful people experience it at different stages of life. It may simply be your mind asking you to look deeper, to reconnect with meaning, to explore what truly matters to you. Sometimes the feeling of emptiness is not the end of something. It is the beginning of a new chapter of understanding, a moment where life quietly invites you to rediscover what makes it meaningful. Thank you for listening today. If you have ever felt this quiet emptiness inside, remember that it may simply be your mind searching for something deeper and more meaningful. And that search itself can be the beginning of a more authentic life. See you in the next story.